From the return of one of Roblox's most hated YouTubers to the horrific actions committed by these two animation YouTubers, today we will be looking at the most hated Roblox YouTubers of January 2025. Due to me going on holiday, today's video will contain some re-uploaded content, but will also cover some people that I haven't talked about on the channel yet. So grab your favorite snack and beverage and get ready for a long episode. Jokes aside, if you have already seen any of the videos I will be showing today, letting the video play out to the end really supports me and is more than appreciated. It really helps me make these in-depth videos for you guys. But without further ado, let's begin. Earlier in the month, a furry YouTuber who goes by Nitro Lord would be exposed. Best known for his documentaries on nostalgic Roblox topics, Nitro Lord gained over 150,000 subscribers before being exposed. This would all start with a video from Green Lego Cats 123 titled Nitro Lord, Roblox's all-ages furry freak party host. The video would detail how behind the scenes, YouTuber Nitro Lord would host these furry freak parties, but the worst part, it would be open to all ages. Not only that, he would run an alt account on Twitter that posted very suggestive furry content. But what made this so horrible was the fact that he had minors actively following it. However, shortly after being exposed for that, it would also be revealed that he ran another suggestive furry
To me, some of the most hilariously intriguing controversies in online discourse are those involving bootlegs. Yes, we've all seen these viral stories showing knockoff products, copycat Chinese companies, and blatantly obvious instances of intellectual property theft. Some cases so egregious that it's downright comical. From fake Jordans with phallic appendages to offensive Asian KFC ripoffs replacing the Colonel with Barack Obama to video games illegally using Disney characters to simulate C-section surgery. The imagination of bootleggers is seemingly limitless, and today I'll be taking you on a tour through some of the brands, knockoff products, and companies that have been wrapped up in bootlegging controversies. Some of these stories ending in costly civil lawsuits. These are the internet's most bizarre bootlegs. Today's video is sponsored by Keeps, and to begin the ad, let me show you my hair from some old videos back in 2020. Yeah, your boy was losing hair and losing it fast. I didn't want to go bald, so I decided to do something about my hair loss and got started with Keeps, and the results have been pretty insane. Here's me at 6 months after starting Keeps, a year after starting, almost 2 years after starting, and here's me now, 3.5 years after starting Keeps, and your boy's looking pretty good. Keeps offers generic versions of the 2 FDA-approved hair loss products at a can't-beat price, and best of all, you skip the trip to the doctor's office and pharmacy. Keeps will set you up with a prescriber online and ship your prescription right to your front door, and in 4 to 6 months, you should start seeing results. Look, I've been using Keeps for most of my YouTube career at this point. It works, and if you're a guy that's having some anxiety about hair loss, there's no better time than now to start Keeps. To get started, you guys can go to keeps.com/wavy and use code WAVY to take advantage of their special offer. Big thanks to Keeps for sponsoring. So how about a story involving a very recent case of bootlegging? The Mexican Buc-ee's incident. Buc-ee's is a staple of Texas, and it's successfully spreading to other regions of the United States for good reason. We're talking locations with over 200 fuel pumps, a sprawling market filled wall-to-wall with signature snacks, beverage, and Buc-ee the Beaver merchandise, a hot bar constantly serving fresh brisket sandwiches, baked goods, and tacos. Now, aside from all the amenities that they provide, Buc-ee's has also become successful in part due to the popularity of their logo, or mascot, Buc-ee the Beaver. Their beaver mascot is found on practically every product sold in the store, and I'd be willing to bet you've seen some folks in your town wearing shirts or hats featuring this beaver. And with a business and intellectual property as hot as Buc-ee's, it's no surprise that some out there have attempted to illegally make use of some of Buc-ee's trademarks. Which brings us to the bizarre case of the Mexican Buc-ee's. On July 23rd of 2023, a photo was uploaded to Facebook by a man named Ramon Montalongo. The caption, which has been translated from Spanish to English, reads, "You are not going to believe this." Apparently photographed just out of the city of Matamoros, Mexico, Ramon's photo appeared to have exposed a previously undetected Buc-ee's bootlegging operation. His image showcased a store that was under construction. This ramshackle concrete building featuring some rather curious signage and logo work. The joint was called Buc-ee's, the E's spelled with two I's instead of EES. And its exterior walls also featured imagery of a grotesque-looking buck-toothed rat creature. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, look at this Family Dollar-ass Buc-ee's we got here. So as you can clearly see, the intent with this Mexican Buc-ee's was to jack the swag of the Texas-based company. Ramon's photo showcasing this apparent bootleg operation would subsequently go viral on Facebook. The comment section of his post flooded with a seemingly endless stream of laughing emojis. However, when news of this bootleg Buc-ee's made it back to Buc-ee's in Texas, well, the company wasn't taking this as any kind of joke, and as a matter of fact, they were pretty pissed off about it. Several days after being made aware of the Mexican Buc-ee's, they put out this statement. The Buc-ee's brand represents clean restrooms, freshly prepared food, and great service. Buc-ee's has invested heavily in innovation across the company to create and maintain these award-winning guest experiences. Accordingly, Buc-ee's will not stand as an idle spectator while others use without permission the intellectual property that Buc-ee's has cultivated for decades. And after this statement, there were rumors floating around that Buc-ee's was going after Buc-ee's legally. It's important to note that Buc-ee's has somewhat of a track record of going after companies legally for copyright and trademark infringement, and have actually been pretty successful in these regards. For example, in 2018, Buc-ee's won a federal trademark lawsuit against a Texas barbecue restaurant chain called Choke Canyon Barbecue. The basis of this suit being that Choke Canyon had violated their trademark by using this logo and mascot. A hat-wearing alligator flashing a smile in front of a yellow background, looking up and to the left. Putting Choke Canyon next to Buc-ee's, you can kinda see where the company was coming from here. And with both joints being known for their barbecue brisket, I can understand why Buc-ee's had some qualms with this. In the time since Buc-ee's has made their comment on the Mexican bootleg, it appears the fake Buc-ee's store has completely redesigned their mascot and front signage, in what seems to be an effort to placate the company and possibly avoid future litigation. As you can see, the mascot has lost the red cap and has gone through a complete makeover. Looks like he grew a little bit of a mullet too. Which is fucking hilarious to me though, because now with this redesign done, it almost appears like they're kind of stealing the generic chipmunk design that you see in Disney animations, but I digress. As of now, I can't find any evidence of a lawsuit being filed against the company, but considering this is a recent story, I wouldn't be surprised if an update comes forward. And here we are, KFC. KFC is a fast food staple and the Colonel's chicken has become famous around the world. Internationally, KFC is particularly popular in Asian countries. And because of this, many Asian merchants and entrepreneurs want to get franchising rights to sell the food. However, it can be quite difficult for international sellers to get these rights. And in some cases, when individuals can't legally take advantage of the Colonel's branding, they get a little creative. And that's what brings us to the story of Obama Fried Chicken, or OFC. In October of 2011, images began to surface on social media showing what appeared to be a KFC restaurant in Beijing, China. However, instead of the face of Colonel Sanders being in the logo, it was the visage of then President Barack Obama, smiling from ear to ear. The slogan at the bottom of the sign can be translated as saying, "We're so cool, aren't we?" The restaurant was called OFC, aka Obama Fried Chicken. So not only was this restaurant infringing on KFC's IP with them basically stealing the brand theming, the inclusion of Barack Obama here in the context of it being a fried chicken restaurant is extremely questionable to say the least. The owner of this restaurant would be identified as 21-year-old Chinese man Zhu Baoli. Initially, his motives for including Obama in his branding were unclear, but many made their own assumptions. Naturally, the logo sparked quite the outrage in the West, and KFC wasn't all too happy about the kernel swapping either. When the story hit the US media, Reverend and civil rights activist Al Sharpton denounced the Obama fried chicken restaurant and said it was, quote, insulting, offensive, and plays to racial stereotypes. A KFC China spokesman echoed this sentiment and stated they were extremely displeased with the uses of their trademark and were considering suing OFC. Quote, we're considering legal action as it's a knockoff and has nothing to do with us and infringes on our brand trademark. We find it distasteful. However, speaking on this matter, in a way backfired for KFC because they were almost immediately met with critics that reminded them that KFC, you guys literally commissioned a Chinese KFC commercial earlier in that same year that had an Obama lookalike in it.
Change, not only for America, but for the whole world. Not only for your mom, but for you, for your stomach, for a better taste.
魚柳包嘅味道 change 咗啦 ，KFC 家鄉鮮魚柳軟包，鮮食香甜。
Change is good.
In fairness to KFC, they would later apologize for this commercial, stating, quote, it was meant to be a spoof and no disrespect was intended. And I really don't think they meant any harm by this. The commercial was more so about Obama's change slogan. You know, they're changing from KFC chicken sandwiches to, hey, we also have fish sandwiches too. Whatever the case, there were some folks that were upset about that commercial. But anyways, back to OFC. Even the Chinese locals were upset about Obama fried chicken, as apparently Zoo's Obama chicken was actually quite delicious and popular with customers. And thanks in part to the recognizability of Zoo's KFC-styled branding, his shop was outselling and outcompeting nearby street food merchants. During the swirling controversy, it seemed like everyone in the world had weighed in on it, except for Zoo himself. In October of 2011, a news crew would manage to catch up with Zoo outside of his OFC restaurant and finally asked him why he used Obama as the mascot for his fried chicken joint. The answer might not be what you expected. In this interview, Zoo would explain that he had somewhat of an Obama obsession and deeply admired the US president for what he describes as having a positive attitude and cheerful smile. He claims that he had no intention of being offensive or violating KFC's trademark or invoking any racial stereotypes. Keep in mind, this story took place back in 2011, which was during Obama's first term, and this was probably the peak of the man's international popularity. He was famous all over the world. The man was loved by many internationally due to his charismatic persona. In fact, some folks would actually capitalize off of the love for Obama, often making fake bootleg Obama merchandise and using him in logos for their own trade benefits. So it's possible that Zoo got caught up in this frenzy, but maybe was ignorant of the sort of Western stereotype that he maybe inadvertently engaged in here. It's really tough to say, but I'm almost willing to give this guy the benefit of the doubt because he seems like more of an Obama fan than anything. In an apparent effort to placate KFC and their legal threats, Zoo would eventually change the name of OFC to UFO, and after some pressure from local authorities, he would reluctantly remove the infamous Obama fried chicken sign. Despite the massive worldwide discourse that followed this controversy, you might be surprised to find that Zoo was never legally pursued by KFC in any serious capacity. And as far as we know, he continues to operate restaurants to this day. And that was the story of Obama fried chicken. In this video, we previously discussed the Obama fried chicken incident, a case where a Chinese man used the face of a world leader to sell chicken. And while that's indeed quite bizarre, what if I told you there was a case of a chicken salesman who rebranded his restaurant featuring logo and iconography of one of the most infamous world leaders ever? Yes, this is the story of Hitler Fried Chicken. In 2013, a man from London was on vacation in Bangkok, Thailand when he came across a curious fast food restaurant. He took a photo of the place and published his findings to the internet, where the photo would then be shared to Twitter by a man named Andrew Spooner. Spooner's tweet quotes the Londoner who discovered it. Quote, "Very bizarre fried chicken shop in Thailand. I kid you not, complete with a picture of Hitler in a bow tie." Taking a look at the image, we see that the fast food joint point had apparently swapped the face of Colonel Sanders with that of the genocidal Fuhrer, and was using Hitler to further its chicken-selling goals. And what you might find surprising is that this restaurant was said to have been somewhat popular with locals, getting rave reviews. Hitler Chicken had opened in June of 2013, and on its menu were fried chicken, burgers, and kebabs. A Western traveler who visited the spot said, quote, "I went in for a bite last week and got some fried chicken, which was pretty good. I asked the guy behind the counter why it was called Hitler. He just shrugged his shoulders and said the owners had thought it was a good image." I couldn't think of a fucking better image to represent my chicken restaurant, you know, guys? Seriously. So naturally, this post would go somewhat viral online for just the fucking batshit juxtaposition that we got going on here. Hitler Chicken would leave the online world scratching their heads. Why would anybody use Hitler as their mascot? And not only that, why was it working? Well, to better make sense of this bizarre marketing ploy, allow me to introduce you to what has been dubbed as Nazi chic. Nazi chic has been described as the use of style, imagery, and paraphernalia in clothing or pop culture related to Nazi Germany. Throughout the 2010s, Nazi chic had become somewhat of a fad within Southeast Asia, Thailand in particular. It was quite popular with the youth, who were the ones who were the most ignorant of Hitler's deeds and symbolism. In fact, it's said that at the time that it wasn't all too uncommon to find school children dressing up as Nazis, and bootleggers were selling Nazi-themed t-shirts and artwork around the country because people wanted this type of apparel. And while it's impossible to say why this symbolism was so popular in Southeast Asia at the time, I'll just go back to what I said earlier. I think you had a lot of young people who were just completely ignorant about what Hitler did. I think the Holocaust is something we know way more about as Westerners, and maybe, you know, it's not really talked about that much in Asia. To exemplify the popularity of Nazi chic at the time, there was once a case in 2016 involving a Taiwanese high school orchestrating a Christmas parade, wherein the students dressed up and marched in Nazi-themed uniforms, performing Zig Heils and constructing a cardboard tank to boot. And apparently, the theme of this parade was voted on by the students themselves. This parade would go viral online and drew international criticism, resulting in the school administrators being humiliated and later apologizing for the parade. Quote, "When reviewing the parade beforehand, we failed to closely consider the meaning of the historical facts." I mean, seriously, it's like they're treating the garb as like a fucking Halloween costume, you know? And with this context explained, let's return back to Hitler Fried Chicken. When this image went viral in the West, many were confused, but a lot more were outraged by it, understandably so. And considering the fact that Hitler's face was swapped with Colonel Sanders and they were using the KFC theming, it was only a matter of time before the KFC people came after this Hitler Chicken place. After discovering the viral Hitler Fried Chicken image, the company would make a statement regarding the shop. "We find it extremely distasteful and are considering legal action since it's an infringement of our brand trademark and has nothing to do with us." These threats appeared to successfully have spooked the owners, as after KFC spoke up, Hitler Fried Chicken changed its name to Hler and allegedly took the sign down featuring the KFC-style branding. There's not much else to report about this story, and it's said that Southeast Asia's fascination with Hitler still remains to this day, at least in a smaller proportion. In the world of fictional restaurants, the Krusty Krab might just be the most iconic. Owned and operated by Eugene Krabs of Bikini Bottom, this penny-pinching crustacean has made a great fortune over the years off the backs of SpongeBob and Squidward. Krabs' arch nemesis is rival fast food restaurant owner Sheldon J. Plankton, who restlessly attempts to steal Mr. Krabs' Krabby Patty's secret formula. You might say that Plankton is an intellectual property thief of sorts, but as we all know, Plankton has yet to be successful at stealing Mr. Krabs' formula. But what if I told you that a Texas-based restaurant was? The story begins in 2021 when a company called Pixie Universal opened a SpongeBob-themed pop-up restaurant in Houston, Texas. Funded by a businessman named Sam Chand, this restaurant was called the Rusty Krab. And these guys really pulled out all the stops when it comes to looking like the real Krusty Krab. The Rusty Krab sold SpongeBob-themed food items and drinks, Krabby Patties included. And the restaurant's interior featured an an admittedly impressive real-life adaptation of Mr. Krabs' Diner. However, while the theming was well executed, the food and drink quality wasn't getting the ravest of reviews. Customers complained about having to pay for a ticket to get in. The food and drink prices were high as well, and an excessive amount of mandatory gratuity was added to each bill. Which this is hilarious to me because all the stuff I just mentioned sounds like some shit that Mr. Krabs would pull in the Krusty Krab.
Money!
Now keep in mind, this restaurant was in no way licensed by Nickelodeon or SpongeBob. And that begs the question, is this legal? At the time, Mr. Chand claimed that the Rusty Krab was an artistic interpretation of the fictional restaurant and had no affiliation with the actual brand. The website said, quote, "We are not affiliated, authorized, endorsed by, or in any way officially connected with Nickelodeon or the SpongeBob brand directly, or any of its subsidiaries or its affiliates. This is Keffy HTX's artistic adaptation recreation of an amazing series that added value to our childhood." So yeah, they were very much forthcoming that they had nothing to do with SpongeBob. It's not like they were trying to hide from it. And it's almost as if they seem like they would be protected legally by some sort of parody exemption under IP trademark law. In this news interview, a woman named Asha, who was apparently affiliated with ownership, candidly spoke about the show and how it was her dream to open a Krusty Krab style diner one day.
Hey, good morning to you, Jose. So, like a lot of folks, I'm a huge SpongeBob fan, so I was very excited about this. We've got Asha. She is the owner, and you helped bring the Rusty Krab to life. Talk about this experience.
Yes, well, I've been a SpongeBob fan literally since I was about 10 years old, so this is a lifelong dream of mine to be able to recreate something that was so nostalgic in my childhood. I really wanted to give it a feel of people actually being in Bikini Bottom, and I believe we nailed it, don't you think?
You guys absolutely nailed it.
Despite the complaints from prices, the Rusty Krab would be somewhat of a popular attraction in Houston, but its virality online would be an issue, as eventually it found its way back to Viacom CBS, the at-the-time owners of SpongeBob. On May 25th of 2021, Viacom sent a cease and desist letter to the Rusty Krab. However, after receiving this letter, the very next day, the Rusty Krab announced that it was extending its run through August 1st, and that tickets would be available to enter until the end of 2021. Taking this as a signal that the Rusty Krab wasn't going to cease or desist, Viacom decided they were just going to sue him. In their lawsuit, Viacom comments that the restaurant featured illustrations and designs that were exact copies of those featured in their SpongeBob SquarePants cartoon. In addition to this, they cite workers dressed up just like the characters from the show. As a defense, the owners at Pixie Universal would state that the Rusty Krab was made as parody, and that their imitation of the restaurant should be allowed under parody exemptions in copyright law. However, unfortunately for the Rusty Krab, a judge would disagree, as it was later determined that the Rusty Krab had violated Viacom's intellectual property rights. As a result of this lawsuit, the company behind the creation of the Rusty Krab was ordered by the courts to pay $6 million in copyright damages to Paramount, who had recently acquired Viacom, as well as the transfer